Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Costa Mesa Parks and Recreation Commission meeting for March 28th, 2019. I will call the meeting to order at 6:01, and if we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, Commissioner Rutherford will lead us. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3, roll call. Chair McNabb,
Present.
Commissioner DeSicco,
Present.
Commissioner Erickson,
Present.
Commissioner Fay,
Present.
Commissioner Rutherford.
Present.
Item 4, approval of the minutes of the February 28th, 2019 meeting of the PRC.
Does anyone have any additions, corrections, or comments on the minutes?
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay. And any discussion, we'll call for the question, and I don't see our paddles, so we can do a voice vote, is totally fine. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No abstentions?
The motion carries 5-0. Item 5, public comment.
To ensure fair and equal treatment of all who come appear before the Parks and Recreation Commission and to expedite city business, speakers will be limited to 3 minutes during public comments. The 3-minute per speaker time limit may be extended for good cause by the chairperson or by majority vote of the commission. Please fill out a speaker card and hand it to the commission secretary and state your name and city of residence for the record. At this time, I will open public comment and welcome. Good evening.
I did submit a card.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair McNabb and Commissioners. I have a few announcements I'd like to share with you. First, we're getting ready to shift the arts movement in the city. The new exhibits begin April. They run through June. Art on the 5th, which is located on the 5th floor at City Hall. We're excited to have a young Costa Mesa artist who is a photographer, and her work, Maria Reverberi, will be there through the end of June. Her reception, open to the public, please save the date, April 24th, and we're looking forward to having that evening the Orange Coast College Music Honor Society welcoming those who come to the reception. Additionally, we will be hosting at the Youth Art Gallery on the 1st floor, Waldorf School. So we invite you to come in and look at the art there. And finally, the exhibit here at the Senior Center, we will be hosting a reception for our new artist, Barbara Owens, on Monday, May 6th. The receptions, I didn't mention this, the receptions at City Hall are from 5 to 6 p.m., and the reception on May 6th here at the Senior Center will be from 12 noon until 1. I'd also like to let you know we are currently updating our online arts directory at the City of Costa Mesa. So if you know artists or artist organizations, please encourage them to go to costamesa.ca.gov/directory of the arts, and they can register right there. At the Senior Center, we have a couple of exciting trips we're planning. One will be for our seniors, taking them to the new library in May. Once it's opened and we get our bus transportation in line, and also we're planning a trip in the summer to the OCC Planetarium for our seniors. And finally, I wanted to remind you about the opening of the library. The Cultural Arts Committee is working on a project. We'll be partnering with the LEAPS program, the city's program for youth, and we'll be doing an art program the day of the opening with the students. So thank you very much.
Thank you for all those updates. That is very appreciated. Any other public comments? Seeing none, we will close public comments at this time.
I wanted to speak on the instruments at the library. Did you want me to wait till new business to discuss that?
Yes, please. That would be great. And, okay, next item.
Item 6, Commissioner comments.
Let's start with Commissioner Rutherford and go down the line.
Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to start my comments this evening by stating that I had the opportunity a couple weeks ago to go with Commissioner Erickson, Councilwoman Reynolds, and Planning Commissioner Woods. There was a presentation by the UCI Masters of Urban Planning program. They had their graduate students working on projects, project proposals for Westside Costa Mesa. So these are graduate planning students. They analyzed different parts of Westside Costa Mesa. They came up with a variety of different project proposals. And so we had a great time listening to them. We learned a lot, got a lot of good ideas. So we look forward to sharing their final reports from the students with our fellow commissioners, and maybe that can get our creative juices going a little bit. And then speaking of creative juices, I wanted to show a quick video, if we could get that queued up. When I was a kid in middle school, I was part of Early Act program. And one of the things that the program did was there was a community building project in our neighborhood. And community volunteers came together to build a park. And it was a huge event, a lot of energy there. And then the community was really invested in the park afterwards. And it was a place that people wanted to be. So I just wanted to play this video, maybe inspire my fellow commissioners, members of the public, and see if we could do something like this at a future park in Costa Mesa. So there were a lot of videos like that. There's a lot of different cities that have tried that kind of approach with community playground building, can possibly reduce the labor costs for the project, and then it gets built in one day with volunteers. So just an idea for us to maybe look at down the road. Thank you, everybody.
Go ahead, Commissioner DeCisse.
Yeah, I just wanted to give an update. Last meeting, it was brought up a concern by a Costa Mesa resident about the profits for the fish fry being held at Fairview Park and about agreement of what should be done with those said profits. We're currently have the city's attorney's office under review of that document to make sure that where that fund should be going. And so they're currently reviewing that. Hopefully I can give an update on that on next meeting.
Thank you very much. And at this time, I would like to wish everyone a happy spring. It's beautiful to have the long days and enjoy, people will get to enjoy our parks for even longer hours after work now. And also a happy Nowruz Piyoruz to people who celebrate the Persian New Year. And I think this month it is particularly important to thank our city staff for working so hard to get our temporary shelter open. I know that pretty much the entire city has been working around the clock to make sure that we're ready to have that launch on April 5th. And so I think it's going to benefit the community and those individuals who are in need of shelter. So it's a great partnership, and we're very much looking forward to the opening of that end of next week. And also, I would like to mention, as Mrs. Ashendorf mentioned a little bit about the planetarium, I had the great opportunity to attend the grand opening of the Orange Coast College Planetarium last Friday, and it is amazing. It is a major community asset, and I highly recommend that citizens go take the opportunity It is open on Saturday and Sunday. I believe it has 3 showings a day, and it's really amazing. So I encourage people to do that, and those are all the comments I have for this evening. Commissioner Erickson.
Thank you. Following on what Commissioner Rutherford said about the UCI presentations, they were fascinating. A lot of really creative ideas for finding new park space, adding amenities and events at parks. So I look forward to reviewing that further. There are quite a few classes coming up that are just really interesting that are being provided by Parks and Rec, if you will. I see them on social media. One is coming up in May, and it's actually going to be at one of our sand volleyball courts, but instead of volleyball, it's going to be this version of badminton played with tennis rackets. It's got a funny name. It's called Torx Racquetball, I think, and it's a free class. There's so many free classes. I encourage everyone to take a look at the program guide or visit our website to learn more, but some really exciting things going on. Had the opportunity to go to baseball opening day at the beginning of the month. Costa Mesa American Little League Baseball. We spoke about volunteers just a few minutes ago building parks, and the volunteers that keep those fields nicely groomed, repair backstops and the like, and just keep that league going, deserve a round of applause. And it was really exciting to see all those kids get out there and play some baseball. And then finally, just want to wish a happy birthday to one of my favorite park visitors. My son's 4 today, and he's already celebrated at least half of his birthdays in the park. So it's great to see the parks doing great things.
Commissioner Fay.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I just want to say I went on to the open house that the city hosted on the bridge shelter earlier this week, and I wanted to say thank you to the city council and to staff right now who I'm sure are working around the clock, and to the many, many volunteers and other partner organizations that are involved in that. I'm thrilled that it's going to be opening, and it was a great open house. It was attended by a lot of different community members, and the city was available to answer different questions at different stations if you weren't able to attend. I'll post some things later on all of that. In line with that, I think one of the most important things about the shelter opening and about our community and about our parks is that we have so many nonprofits that are getting involved to make a difference. And I wanted to just highlight that Love Costa Mesa Day is coming up again. If you're a calendar planner like I am and you want to get it in the calendar, it's May 18th. So a few weeks away now, and there are a number of things on their website already that you can sign up for. There's one particular outreach event at Fairview Park that is going to be, they're looking for about 60 different volunteers to come out and help. City Council member Reynolds actually mentioned this to me the other night. They're looking for 60 volunteers to come out and help pulling some of the invasive weeds and plants. So if you want to go get your hands dirty, you want to get in the mud, and you want to make a difference in Fairview Park, what a stunning time for it to happen. I hope that the flowers are still blooming. I walked around there today, and it is beautiful. You don't need to drive 3 hours to Lake Elsinore to see the super bloom. This is a big deal, guys. We've got it in Fairview Park. Go check it out. It was really amazing. Another one of Love Costa Mesa Day's volunteer opportunities. If you're wondering how you can get involved in this, I've been asking the same question myself. On April 6th, as I understand, Love Costa Mesa is working, I think, with the city, and the city can confirm this, on a orientation for bridge shelter volunteers. So I think they're looking for about 75 different volunteers. That training orientation day is from 10 in the morning to 11:30 in the morning at the Crossing Church. And I think that that's just one of the wraparound services that are going to be coming alongside, if I'm correct, with the bridge shelter. So if you've been asking, how can I get involved? How can I actually help? Maybe go check that out on April 6th. And the last thing is I had the honor to go back to my second home is in New Zealand. I lived there for a long time, even though I'm really from this area originally, and I had the honor to go back there a couple weeks ago. I was actually there when the events happened with the shooting, unfortunately. But I am constantly inspired at places like New Zealand and like what we're starting to do even more here in Costa Mesa that really integrate the outside world with the park world with the inside world. And it's funny walking around such a beautiful country like that, and then I was looking around and realizing, wow, we have all of this here too. We have beach, we have parks, we have super blooms. We are so blessed to live in this place. So my encouragement for the week is get outside, go camping, walk in the park. That's what my mother would have said. Get outside and enjoy it this week. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that will be it for commissioner comments.
Item 7, consent calendar.
All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted in one motion in the form listed below. There will be no separate discussion of these items prior to the time the commission votes on the motion unless members of the commission, staff, or the public request specific items to be removed from the consent calendar. These items will be discussed and voted on upon immediately following the commissioner action on the remainder of the consent calendar. Upon invitation of the chairperson, members of the public who wish to discuss consent calendar items should come forward to the microphone, state their name and city which they reside, and the item number. Is there anyone that would like to make public comment on the consent calendar or pull the item? Seeing none, I will move to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second that.
Call for the question.
The motion carries 5-0. Item 8, old business, no items. New business, item 9A, donation of musical instrument equipment at the Mesa Verde Library.
And at this time, we have a presentation by Ms. Birch.
Good evening, Chair McNabb, members of the commission. My name is Allison Birch, Executive Secretary of the Parks and Community Services Department. I will be walking you through the proposed donation of musical instrument equipment at the Mesa Verde Library. The Friends of the Costa Mesa Library, led by current president Donna Stapleton, have approached the city about their hope to donate 4 pieces of outdoor musical instrument equipment. This equipment is proposed to be placed at the Mesa Verde Library, adjacent to Mesa Verde Drive East. Please draw your attention to the projector screen, and I'll introduce you to each piece. Here you can see the swirl. This instrument is a sculptural presence that can be appreciated visually and audibly. The next slide will show the marimba. This is an African-inspired pentatonic instrument that delivers resounding sounds. Moving on to the next slide, we have the yangtze. This instrument produces low tones that harmonize well with the others. And lastly, the tune drums are a set of 5 differently sized and sounding drums. These have an Afro-Cuban influence and are similar to traditional conga drums. Since these instruments are all separate pieces and can be arranged in any chosen way, Parks and Community Services staff, along with maintenance staff, met with Ms. Stapleton at the proposed installation site. Equipment placement, as well as the ease of equipment assimilation into current city culture, potential noise to nearby residents, and current project funding were all topics of discussion. If approved, after donation, the city will own and maintain the outdoor musical instrument equipment. As such, the Friends of the Costa Mesa Libraries have been working with the city's Maintenance Services Division to ensure proper placement and installation of the equipment. The proposed installation layout can be seen on the next 2 slides. The first slide shows an overall view of the front of the library from Mesa Verde Drive East, including the placement of the equipment. And the next slide shows a zoomed-in view of the proposed location. Upon purchase and donation, the city's maintenance division will remove existing ivy and landscaping to make the proposed location suitable. Decomposed granite and simple design elements will also be included. With Costa Mesa being known as the city of the arts, the musical instruments would fit in with the city's emphasis of adding arts and culture into the community. This would allow for the library to further serve to develop a love for arts and culture across a wide range of ages. Potential unwanted noise spillover to nearby residents is something staff has been conscious of, but staff believe that the noise produced by the instruments will be significantly lessened by vehicular traffic and the 6-foot solid block barrier walls that line the perimeter to residential property. Even still, staff provided a courtesy notice to all residents living within 200 feet of the proposed installation site. The notice invited residents to tonight's meeting to express any considerations regarding noise. The Friends of the Costa Mesa Libraries is in the process of raising funding to purchase and install the outdoor musical instrument equipment. The Costa Mesa Foundation, the Cultural Arts Committee, Ace Hardware, the Costa Mesa Newport Harbor Lions Club, and the Stapleton and Ooten families have all donated toward the overall cost. With a combined $12,306 currently pledged, the Friends of the Costa Mesa Libraries have a plan in place to fund the remainder of the project. Once the instruments have been purchased and donated, the city will be responsible for maintaining the new equipment, and the ongoing maintenance costs will be absorbed into existing budgets. With strong support from community groups and businesses, the majority of funding already pledged, and the addition of equipment that aligns with the city's motto, staff recommends that the Parks and Recreation Commission approve the donation of and the installation of outdoor musical instrument equipment at the Mesa Verde Library. This concludes my presentation. I, along with Friends of the Costa Mesa Library's president, Ms. Stapleton, are happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Does anyone have any questions about the donation? At this time, we'll open up to public comment on this item. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Carrie Jimenez. I live immediately behind the Friends of the Library store, if you call it, bookstore. I am a 41-year resident of that home, so I've lived there since I was a child. And I'm concerned about this installation because not only is there traffic noise, but there's also a high school, 2 churches that function as schools Monday through Friday in that intersection. We also have quite a few people going through the Friends of the Library bins at night, at least 3 to 5 times an evening. We have people going through the library trash cans at least 5 times an evening. I've called the police on numerous occasions about these things. I've spoken with the library and asked them to install locks on all of these. They don't always get closed. We also have quite a few people that park in the back of the library, and they will play loud music at night, and they will party, drink, do drugs, and I've had to call the police about that as well. So I feel like this is an added noise and impact to the residents that are immediately around in the area, not only during the day, but during the evening. There was nothing in the plan that showed that this musical instrument space was going to be secured during off hours, and I'm concerned about that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is that something that staff could speak to as potential securing of overnight?
Yes, Madam Chair, the plan does not include any perimeter fencing around the equipment. As it is a playground type of structure, it generally is left in the open. It sounds like there are some issues with the operations outside of operating hours on site. That's something that we certainly can look into with public safety and with the library as well. But from a perimeter perspective around the equipment, that's not part of the plan.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff? Commissioner Rutherford?
Yeah, I just had a question to respond to that concern because I understand there might be a concern over unsavory use of new equipment that may be different than other playground equipment. So I'm just wondering if maybe staff, being mindful of that, could maybe check it in the evenings or have some kind of protocol in place where it's just checked more regularly in the evening compared to maybe a regular playground.
Yes, that certainly can be a consideration if this is approved, that we look to do with either park rangers or park field ambassadors.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Fay.
One question I had just for staff was around the, could you explain what else is in that initial area, and particularly in terms of seating? I think that for young people, they would love to come and play in something like this, but it would be great to have some sort of seating arrangements for parents to be able to watch on side. Could you speak to that?
Yes, Commissioner Fay, seating could be a consideration. We do know that if this is approved, that maintenance will be clearing the ivy that's on site and putting down some decomposed granite, as well as potentially some ornamental rock, which could be used for seating, but there potentially could be consideration for a bench as well in the future.
Any other comments from commissioners, or questions from staff? Mr. Rutherford?
I just wanted to second what Commissioner Fay said. I also think a bench would be an excellent idea, an excellent addition, just to go right next to the setup there.
I did want to mention one last thing. I'm not sure, we haven't researched if there's covers for this musical equipment, but perhaps something we additionally can look into to see if in the evenings there is a cover that might be appropriate to use on top of them.
Yeah, I think that that's a good idea to work on having some sort of form of coverage for them to be off limits after dark. So, would anyone like to make a motion?
I will. I'll make a motion to vote to approve the donation of the outdoor musical instrument equipment at the Mesa Verde Library. And then if I could just ask that staff would consider alongside of that both the bench seating or seating around it, as well as the monitoring in the evenings to ensure that this doesn't become an issue for any of the local residents.
I'll second that with the considerations.
Any further discussion? Call for the question.
The motion carries 5-0. Item 10, Parks and Community Services Director's Report.
Good evening, Chair McNabb, members of the Commission. The City Spring Session of Recreation and Community Services activities and programs is set to begin next week with more than 220 classes and dozens of additional programs and event offerings. The School Year Rocks after-school program, located at 11 school district sites, has surpassed the 1,100 mark with 1,142 registered participants, which is approximately 50 more than last month. The city's free youth basketball and cheerleading program wrapped up with nearly 215 youth participating between both of these programs. The top teams from the divisions all took part in the annual Southern California Municipal Athletic Foundation tournament last weekend as well. The mobile recreation program has continued to bring play, homework help, and mentorship to several neighborhoods throughout the city during the last month. The program has visited Shalimar Park, Tewinkle Park, Lions Park, and the Fillmore area neighborhood. New to this month's calendar was a visit to the Pamela Lane neighborhood as well. Excuse me. At the Downtown Aquatic Center, we continue to see strong participation in the daily lap swim program and the swim lesson program. These offerings will begin ramping up tremendously in the coming months, leading into the very popular summer session. The city's teen program has continued to remain steady in participation, with average attendance at each of the centers hovering between 250 and 300 participants. The teen program also held a teens-only special event on March 15th called Color Wars Capture the Flag, which was a hybrid between a typical color run event and a game of Capture the Flag that had nearly 40 participants. The department's animal care services staff, along with our animal shelter and adoption service providers, saw more than 75 animals enter and exit our city's animal care system during the month of February, with 43 animals being adopted and 7 being directly returned to their owners. The spring season of youth and adult sports is in full swing with the drier weather and the change in daylight savings time in place. With this, we saw opening days for all of our little leagues and our other organized sports leagues as well across all the different ages. In regards to community events, staff are also working to plan the summer's concert series already, which will take place Tuesdays in July, as well as other events that include the annual Excitement event, which is in partnership with Torelli Realty, which is scheduled to take place on April 20th at Tanager Park. We have the Wall That Heals event, which is in partnership with the Freedom Committee, which will take place at Balearic Park, April 11th through 14th. We have an Earth Day event scheduled at Fairview Park on Saturday, April 20th. And we have a skateboarding competition in partnership with Shreducate Academy that's being held on May 18th at the skate park. We're also already planning the annual Art Venture event that's scheduled this year for the first week of September. Also on the calendar is the ribbon cutting and grand opening at the Lions Park Library, which is scheduled for Friday, April 26th, as well as a free community event this Saturday at Tewinkle Park, hosted by Stonyfield's Organic Yogurt from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. to celebrate the city's use of organic treatments at our Luke Davis Field And as part of this presentation, Stonyfield will be presenting the mayor with a $5,000 check for the city's forward-moving momentum on using organics in some of our parks. So the public is invited to attend, as is the commission.
And I'm sorry, did you say the time of that one?
10 to 1,
10. Thank you.
with the check at noon.
Okay.
Additional public meetings that were hosted by the department include the final Lions Park Playground Improvements meeting, which was held earlier this month, as well as the community open house on homelessness. Speaking of homelessness, as has already been mentioned, the city's temporary bridge shelter is slated to begin operation early next week that is, on a portion of the property at the Lighthouse Church just down the street from the senior center. Those are my updates, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your report. Do the commissioners have questions for Mr. Martin? I guess I'll start because I do have a couple of questions. I had a resident ask me about the expansion of the skate park, so if you could address that for us, I would appreciate it.
Yes, of course, Madam Chair. The commission will be considering the capital improvement projects as part of the April or the May budget, and that will be held in April or May in this meeting. And in there is an item in the capital improvement for the design and the expansion of the skate park, and I believe it's over a 2-year period in the amount of $750,000.
Great. Very good news. Thank you. People will be happy.
Proposed to be
Yes, proposed.
$750,000.
Okay, well, yeah, that's a big number, so. And one other thing that I would like to inquire about is, I also had a resident ask me about a crosswalk in the section of Wilson Road from the Wilson Park, because it's so long between sidewalks, crossings between the lights at Fairview and Harbor, and they were requesting some sort of easier access to the park from the other side.
We can share that with our transportation division, and if maybe you can pass on the name of that resident, we can have our transportation manager get in touch with them.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner Fay?
The only other thing was whether we could get an update on the status of any changes to the commission.
Yes, absolutely, Commissioner Fay. At the last City Council meeting, the council voted to approve the first reading of the ordinance change to change the Parks and Recreation Commission to the Parks, Arts, and Community Services Commission, to expand from 5 members to 7, and to include liaisons specifically to Arts and Culture and to the Senior Center. The council will be doing a second reading of that this coming Tuesday, April 2nd, as part of their consent calendar. If that passes, the change will be official, and the city clerk will open a recruitment for those 2 existing vacant positions, with hope to fill them probably by the May meeting, with everyone being in place, as long as it meets the city council's schedule to appoint those commissioners.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rutherford.
I just had a quick question. Following up on an email exchange we had, I think I saw it in the city's proposed budget, but I just wanted to ask that there's going to be an allocation to finish the bicycle rack installations.
Yes, I believe there's a $50,000 earmark in the capital improvements to complete bicycle racks at the city parks that don't have them, to include Lions Park as well.
Any other comments or questions? Commissioner Erickson, no? Ooh, all right. Well, I think this potentially may be a record, and I would like to close by wishing Mr. Lindemann a very happy birthday yesterday, and everyone who is watching at home, a happy Easter. So our next meeting will be April 25th, and at this time we will adjourn. Thank you so much.